I'll never sit there and dwell on the problem. I'm just going straight to the solution. And that's where everyone's missing it. I mean, the biggest thing we could ever do for anyone, this is everybody's agenda in life, is to share what works for you on all levels and what doesn't work for you on all levels. What doesn't work is probably more beneficial to everybody. So I'm willing to just share it all. I'm willing to be factual. I'm willing to tell, hey, I've been that bitch. I've been that fake tough guy. I've been that guy who walked down the road that he didn't want to walk down and had too big of an ego to walk back the other way like a fucking man.
That's an interesting statement there. So moving forward, or back I should say, in your story, it starts off in Oceanside, California, which is suburbs of San Diego. Beautiful San Diego, my old stomping grounds before I got married and moved to Chino Hill.
That's a spot.
This is the spot, man. And you were a snowboarder, skateboarder, surfer. You know, you're touring, getting paid. And at some point, you decide you're just gonna sell a little bit of weed, just enough to get yourself some weed for free. How does that all roll into a 10-year penitentiary term?
It started off at like 13, where I started smoking weed, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm not paying for this shit. Like 7 grams is X amount of dollars if I buy every gram for 20 bucks. I don't have money like that, so I'm just gonna buy a quarter. I'm gonna save up, I'm gonna buy a quarter. And I'm that type of individual. Once I have a set plan, I'm sticking to it.
Even from a young kid?
Yes, from a young age. Like at 13, I was looking up my credit score. I was tripping on stuff like that to my parents. They're like, why is this guy getting stuff sent to him about his FICO score and shit like that? So I mean, I was just already, and then I mean, fast forward like to 15, I'm already at the Cadillac dealership. Like, I'm gonna buy this shit the second I turn 16. But I'd buy a small amount, break it down until I built myself up. By the time I was 16, I'm handling pounds. My brother was, almost 2 years older, so all the older crowd was who I fucked with. That's who I ran with, and they all just bought shit off me. I was just more structured, I was more disciplined, I had more of a vision. My vision was, I gotta have the stuff I didn't have. I gotta have money, because I grew up and money was our only visible issue. We had love, we had a family, we had everything. Like, we just were lower middle class. So money was just the only thing I saw as the problem.
So you think that was the motivator to, since that's the problem that we have love, we have a house, 2 parents, but there's always a lack of money. We're always probably running out of money before we run out of month, right?
Always. And
so you decide that that's the one thing I'm gonna chase.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm gonna change. I'm gonna make it better. I can. I've always been a problem solver. I still am till this day. And for some reason, I'll never sit there and dwell on the problem. I'm just going straight to the solution. And that's where everyone's missing it. I mean, they spend too much time in that negative state, looking at the problem in a negative way, instead of just fucking seeing all the ways it's gonna work out. And I always just saw the ways it's gonna work out, and it was never doing too many things at once. It was like, let's just get this money first. So let's just get this money first. And I had all the wrong agendas, the wrong ways of getting it, and it was just get money at all costs. So then, just over time, that obviously, that lust for money, that absolute power corrupts absolutely, is the truest thing. So me at a young age, driving an Escalade to high school, I mean, by the time I was 18, I was in the new Range Rover. I mean, I always pulled up to Big Bear where I snowboarded in the newest shit. Like, I just validated myself through that money. So therefore, my belief is that what we validate ourselves within our heart is who we draw around us. So I drew horrible people around me who were just about the money, about nothing more. So then I just had this fucked up group of people around me, and then I had my fucked up vision. I was actually creating this fucked up group of people around me.
Did you realize it then?
I didn't realize it till about 5-6 years ago, that our true heart's validation of self, what we validate ourselves with in our heart truly, is what we teach our people to validate us through. So even the father who is successful and tries to teach his son good principles, if in his heart he's speaking to his son heart to heart that money is everything, he is going to create a fucking spoiled little brat. If he's not sitting down and in his heart validating himself with his principles and teaching that to his son, he's going to fuck that shit off, even though he was way successful.
So let's talk about that for a moment. And I want you to think back to when you were maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, when you start becoming aware that, well, shit, everything's great in our household, it's just money's the only issue. And money is a pretty big issue, because in this life you need money for everything. What could your mom and dad have done different to maybe not get your greed glands to secrete so much? Could they have done anything?
It just would have been, I mean, they were dope. My dad is the hardest fucking working construction dude ever. Like, this motherfucker, since like 17 years old, worked every day of his life. Like, the hardest working dude. My mom was a hairdresser for most of life and then a stay-at-home mom. But it was just, they were just so young. They didn't have the time to sit down and gather this wisdom through self-realization and through reflection. So I mean, the point was, is they couldn't see it. The problem they had created, they were too deep in that mindset to even see the solution.
Gotcha.
So I mean, the point was, is that what they could have done differently now is to my dad to sit down and be like, look, I'm a hardworking motherfucker. I take pride in that. I go to work because it makes me proud. Fuck this money, we have a roof over our heads, you be a proud ass man, you know? And that's what it would have been, but I get that from him, and I saw that in him. And I always admired him for being this dude's like 6'4", 6'5", like 280, veins all up and through this shit, never even worked out, just solid ass dude. And that's what I always saw in him, how strong he was. And in all reality, that he did transfer that over, but since there is that amount of always stressing on money, then that was in the back of our heads too. So that kind of created me. I wanted to be big and strong like him, but I didn't want the fucking money problems.
Gotcha. Ain't that something? So you fast forward, you're driving the Big Bear in your Land Rover.
Yeah.
That's on, was it 20-inch or 22-inch Asantis?
I had 22-inch Asantis. I had the black on black one right when it came out, the 03, the new body.
And so this was what, 15 years ago?
Yeah, just fucking.
So those of you watching and listening to this, 15 years ago, the Asantis, even now they're big, but back then, like, Asantis were the wheels.
Yeah, they're like $8,000.
Yeah. So you're rolling up the Big Bear like that. You're obviously making money, side cash from selling weed. At what point do you decide enough is enough?
Oh, there wasn't enough.
Really?
Everybody I know who gets in this position, we're getting packs. We're getting hundreds of pounds at a time. We're getting $3, like $300 on each pound. So I'm giving half to one person, half to another, on either between 100 pounds or 250 pounds.
When you say half to one person, half to another, meaning
so like,
you go sell it?
Yeah, like I know two people, and I'm like, boom, you're getting half, you're getting half. And so I'll break it down between both of them. I'll make 100 to 300 bucks on each pound, depending on the quality. And I mean, on 200 pounds, 100 pounds, 250 pounds, I'm making 40 to 60 to 80,000 a week, not counting
a week,
but not counting that this fucking shit is they're growers pounds, so they're coming from up north or they're coming from British Columbia, so they just have they're judging for the weight because they ship them kind of wet, so they're judging for it to dry, so they're little over. So when I go through each one, I have like a mailing scale and a trash can, and I put the trash can on the mailing scale, I put the fucking pound in, it comes out like one big nugget. I put it in, I'm like, oh, 456. So then I take the 8 grams out of it, I throw it in a bag. By the time I go through 100, 200 pounds, I mean, I just made 30 grand in, an hour and a half. I blew through like 5 vacuum sealer, food saver sealers, but I mean, by the time I went through it, I had made enough that night to where I go tell my people, like, hey, let's go to the fucking club or something. Just when you make that much money in a day, you have to go spend 10% to fall asleep. You're like, it's like you won the lotto. You know?
Explain that.
I mean, that's just how I felt like back then. Like, now I'm not like that. I can spend nothing after having a good day. But I mean, when you have these drastic jumps of income, it just itches at you to where, like, say one day you make 80 grand, you're like, fucking, man, I just have to go buy something right now. So I just always we'd go to the clubs down here. It's funny how I lived downtown again in my old stomping grounds. This was always a dream of mine when I was in the pen, to be back down here. Now I'm back down here better. But the point is we would go to the clubs and buy Cristal and Dom P and act fucking ballin'. We didn't own fucking nothing. I had a lease option to buy a house that I was paying into, and it was dope. So it was 1.5 mil. I had a condo down here. I had like 30 grand worth of bills a month, but no way was I going towards what you speak about, which is generational wealth. I was not thinking that way.
That's fascinating. So let me ask you this: Do you believe that looking back, you were looking for some kind of validation? So you're making all this cash, 40 grand a week on average, and so you had a great week. Let's go spend 10%, 20%. Are you looking for validation from your peers? From just being able to blow money and people to go, wow, who's he? What were you looking for?
I'm glad you went into that, because I still fucking do it to this day, and it fucks with me. Like, I'll even buying the car I have now. Like, do I need that? I mean, I'll always tell myself I do, but I'm honestly doing that at a slight bit for people to notice that I have some sort of success. And that outward validation, it will always just fucking leave you empty. Like, outward validation is directly linked to expectation. So I mean, the people who seek outward validation, like look at my house, look at my cars, look at my shit, look at me, they're always linking everything in their life to expectation, and expectation will always leave you empty.
Life.